Welcome to Tripping the Void with your host, Saraphine Hurley. Are you ready? Are you ready? Let's go.
Good afternoon. Welcome to Tripping the Void with me, Saraphine Hurley. And I've got my guest today, which is my PIC. We're kind of putting our shows together, but you know what? It seems to work. So I've been here. Basically, I've been talking about supernatural expectations here and there and pretty much trying to put it in everywhere because there's so many people that are seeking and asking and knocking and table tipping and doing all kinds of crazy, crazy stuff and not knowing why they're doing it. They're just doing it because other people are doing it, or they think that they can get their way doing something or clear their way doing. It's confusing. And so we want to sift through some of that muck and kind of give you a demonstration of how it kind of works. And well, at least in our spectrum, it works for other people differently. But this is a live show, and you can call in. This is not a free reading show. However, if the spirit decides to speak, spirit speaks. So the number to call in is 202-559-7943. And Lorley Podfin does actually take appointments for paid readings as well. So you can hit her up after the show. And she'll be giving you the information. I'll make sure that we do have enough time so she can give all of y'all that information. So how are you, Lorley?
I'm great, Seraphine. Thank you so much for having me. And you're so right. We work so well together. Like I say, we always meet in the middle. We might come from two different, arenas. But like I say, you know what? I believe it's all under the paranormal. It is, right? What is the paranormal? Just maybe what's not right in the mainstream. So I think this is such a great idea for a show. You and I have talked, we talk almost every day anyways, but, we've been seeing a lot more stranger things out there going on, and even things you do readings as well. And, mentoring and teaching like I do. And you really shocked me with some of the things you've been seeing. So yeah, I'm really glad you decided to pick this topic, and thank you so much for having me today.
Well, thank you for being my ride or die. So
no way, always. You're mine on Mondays and Thursdays too, so right on.
If you ever want to see PIC in the dictionary, it's got a picture of us.
That's right. Partners in crime.
So, but being more serious, there's a lot of paranormal or supernatural scams going out there having to do with readings, or you have a lot of people popping up on social media, as I've talked about before, where you can PayPal them a funny air quotes donation of usually like between $2 to $10 for a several whatever, insert the amount of cards that they're going to draw or a pendulum or whatever. And not only is that illegal, if you don't license, legitimately, I have friends and family that do have business licenses and have been doing it for a very long time, or other things regarding the internet. But if somebody hits you up and is asking you on your feed or whatever to pay for a reading, or you get an email from somebody saying that they know your divine fate, which I've received several of those, it's like I don't even know how I got on these lists, actually. So I'm like,
wow,
please take me off. It's like it's almost like those 900 number sexual teleconference in the 90s, late 80s, 90s, early 2000s, and now it's becoming a psychic massive cluster where a lot of us are still learning and searching, and I'm gonna claim I'm master of nothing. I'm always learning everything, but especially from you ladies here like Jennifer Malik and and Laura Lee and everybody.
Well, Chip Reichenthal does it too, and and Derek White Sky Cloud.
And Clarissa Vasquez.
Oh, Clarissa, yeah. We got a lot of us that do this and take it very seriously.
But the thing is, we've got to weed through the crud before you get to the good stuff. And I'm not saying everybody's full of Bravo Sierra, but I'm saying about a good 85-90% that you see out there are just people that want to take your money. And let's face it, folks, a lot of us can't part with that, whatever, $25 to $15 that they're asking, or some of them have the cojones to ask like $90, or I've seen people ask for $500 an hour, and I can't even see any background on them. I Google some of these people and they're ghosts. It's like, so you've never been a psychic business before, but all of a sudden you're going to ask like almost $1,000 with tax for reading.
I have my prices. Now, there's a fine line, and what I find, I struggled with it for a long time. I've worked with a lot of different mentors, teachers. I paid for a lot of education. My prices were a little bit lower, and I've had two of my teachers say, you need to put your prices up a little bit more, and here's why. First of all, because then when you charge, I know that I'm giving value when I give the readings that I give. I've really good feedback. The other thing is I've had a lot of evidential proof when I've done readings. The other part is too that looking at it, when we're going to charge $5 or $10 a reading, right? It's a little easier to part with $5 or $10 a reading versus somebody that's going to come to you seriously, really looking for some closure, maybe some healing, some real guidance from spirit, and they're going to take that seriously. It's an investment, and that's the type of people that I'm hoping to work with as well. That, don't get me wrong, I still every now and then go live on my page, and the reason why I do it is to give back, but also for people to see how I work and what I do. But like I said, my prices were lower, and it didn't make any difference. It just got people in there that really weren't taking it very seriously as well. And I take this very seriously, what I do. So I do charge a little bit more, but there's a lot more involved with a reading with me. When you book a reading, paid reading, you're not just getting 2 cards or 3 cards. I have something called an angel board. There would be crystals involved that come in. I may do some crystal Reiki healing with you. I may do some teaching. There's a whole experience is the way I've been packaging this. It's not just me dealing a few cards and saying, let's see, picking it out of the air and let's see what the cards say.
Any card. Is it?
Yes. Yes, and a lot of times what I will do, depending on what deck it is, I've got over even just 70 decks. So I have an investment in this. I believe in this. I'm also a nurse, and again, you would think the two don't meet in the middle, but they do. And so I take a lot of that knowledge from a lot of different fields. I will pull that in there. So, for example, you've had readings with me yourself, Saraphine, too. So has Katie and Daryl. And there's been quite a few other people on the network. Actually, I did open lines on Tuesday night with Chris Carr, and Clarissa Vasquez called in. And I was really grateful they did, but I like people to see what I do. But it's not just, like I said, pulling 2 cards out. And, for the longest time, and I think this shows when you have a little bit of integrity, and I think most people do, is, you don't want to overcharge somebody, but you don't want to undercharge them either. And I will tell you right now, if I say had an hour-long reading, I'm not going to have a clock set here, and all of a sudden, Spirit's shutting down now. That's it. You're going to have to pay another. That's not how I work.
Operated
so,
spirits.
What's that?
Coin-operated spirits.
Yes. Well, the other thing was, for the longest time, I was trying to price it, like a 2-card reading, a 3-card reading. And I got some really good advice because I trained with a mediumship mentor out of Los Angeles that's actually worked with a lot of high-profile clients. I've, like I said, I've trained with quite a few different other people, as well as done a lot of education on my own. I've been doing this for quite a few years, quite a bit of experience with it. But as well, what it came down to was it's either a half-hour or hourly rate. My crystal Reiki healing sessions are priced a little bit differently because usually you need more than one. So I try to, knock that price down for people if they're going to book, like, say, 6 sessions or something. But whatever comes through, say in a half hour, an hour, I may help you balance your chakras with crystals if that's what needs to be done. I'm also medical intuitive, so like I said, it's an experience. It's not just me just pulling a card or two and charging somebody some exorbitant amount of money. Right. So I don't know if that clarifies things a little bit differently, or why I charge what I do.
Well, another thing that I would like to add, if I may, that you, as a patron, you need to be, and excuse the pun, in the spirit of things. You can't come into the situation thinking you're going to pay money and then test the person or be so negative about the reading and just wanting the person to give you information that you think is either wrong, or just fluff you and give you the information that you just want. And that's just messed up. It's like you have to come in, empty yourself of all your thoughts and processes and everything else, and just come to the reading and be yourself and be open with the person when they ask you a question. I mean, be a little leery if the person is asking leading questions. And, there's clarifying questions. But then again, if somebody's asking you, it's like, if you've ever watched Long Island Medium, it's like, oh yeah, I could totally do that too. Lead in and pull answers out of people and make it look like, I've got talent.
Well, sorry, go ahead.
So I was just going to say it's a mentalist. There's a difference between people who are mentalists and are it's kind of like being a magician, and I'm not going to say con artist, because mentalists, that is a talent all of itself, but it doesn't have anything to do with the paranormal unless, you used to be Uri Geller and even trouble. So, but there's people all over the place that do things. It's like we have just so many. I mean, Laura, how do you feel about being inundated by so many people, like these so-called bunny ears, light workers that are everywhere? And it's like I've seen this, guys. She actually has legitimate certificates from actually doing coursework to learn what Laura does for people. So she's legitimate. So if people don't have that, I mean, people are just grouping together and asking for. How do you feel about that?
Well, that was the purpose. One of the reasons why I hadn't planned to go into radio. I'm very grateful that I had the opportunity, but I work with spirit before I do my show every night, because I'm live either an hour or 2 hours, depending on the night between Monday through Friday. But part of that is, for example, and that's one of the things I won't do, is pick apart another person that practices within the field. And that's not what we're doing here. We're just helping people to sort of discern, who might be the right practitioner for you, so that you're not throwing away your money, because that's something I'm sure is going to come up down the line. We got 2 hours here, and I always read your mind, so I'm not going to say much more because I'm sure you got on your list, Sarah. But for example, the Long Island Medium, and this is I understand it's entertainment. I understand it's TV the same thing, and not trying to plug myself here, but I mean, we're on Paranormal Survivor, this 4th season, episode 9, and everything that was told in the episode was true, but they were creating TV, and that's not what the show is about. So getting back to that show in particular, the reason why I agreed to do this is because I love to show people that what you're seeing on TV, it's great to open the discussion, but that is not what it's all about. There's so many talented, amazing people with fantastic gifts out there. For example, when she's sitting there and she's out for dinner and she's looking around and she's looking and she's looking, and then she's staring at people and she's, I can't eat. Spirit's coming through. I have to go talk to them. That may very well be exactly how she plans to do her practice. But when you've worked with people that know these kind of things, somebody that's experienced, somebody that's mentored and taught you, you have all your rights in the world to set up a sign and basically whatever it may be. Some people might put a ring on, some people might put out a personal crystal, whatever it is. These are my open hours. This is when I'm open to connect with spirit. Otherwise, I'm sorry, I'm closed for business. And I'm being very, facetious here, but I mean that because I meet so many people that I mentor and teach that spirit's waking them up in the middle of the night, or spirit is, whatever, especially when you're open to it and you're able to connect with them.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no time on the other side. But especially if you're working, I believe, with, even whether it may be earthbound spirits or it may be, your guides, your angels, they want the best for us. They know we need sleep. So we have that right to set those kind of boundaries. So when you see that on TV, that she's like, oh, I can't go out for dinner, I can't go, well, maybe that really is how her life works. But for me, who was mentoring you and teaching you with this gift that you have? Because how do you sleep? I mean, when we do this kind of work, it drains so much energy because we are using energy. We're channeling source energy and using all of our senses. I mean, there's a whole process. So I get a little upset with that. I try not to be judgmental about it because, like I said, everybody does things a little differently. I appreciate you saying I do have certificates, actually, because I have trained with Doreen Virtue. I'm a certified angel card reader. I've also certified angel tarot card reader with her and Radley Valentine. I have taken courses up the yin yang, if you will. And I still do it. And the reason why I do it, first of all, I don't know everything. Second of all, I agree, maybe a jack of all trades, but I consider myself a lifelong learner. And you've heard me say this many times, Sarah. Probably, if you've listened to my show, any of the listeners, I always say the more I open this door, the more infinitely tinier than a one-celled organism I feel compared to the vast amount of knowledge. Plus, the more I learn and the more I see and the more I experience, my viewpoints change about things, about spirits, being open, because I don't know everything. And I have no problem with admitting that. And the other thing I'd love for listeners to hear, psychics and mediums are not 100% accurate all the time. Excuse me. We're human beings. Wouldn't you agree about that, Sarah?
Well, I would agree, and also like to say that it's not just that. Something that I like to say, and when I'm teaching, is that it's not just that we're not 100% all of the time, because a lot of it's spirit-based. Spirits can keep us off track for a reason, and also your future is subject to change. Something in your life change and change that track. Now, however, whom you're talking to, things like that, when you're in the spirit, within the spirit, in the moment, and things like that, that's definitely, there's the truth and the meat of the subject there. But however, if we're talking about you're going to meet a tall, dark stranger and he's going to love you like a Disney princess, and I would be like, I think I got the wrong room.
Yeah. Just to add to that, Sarah, usually when I don't give future readings, even say I've had a premonition or a dream about something, it's not usually about somebody that's coming to see me. It might be within our life. Even if it's maybe not such a good thing, because I've had dreams like that. We've talked about that as well on, your other show, and I know we've been on this show a few times, and even on my show. When I will tell somebody, I've had people say to me, for example, and I'll try and change the details, but I did have a reading actually with someone that had, a house they really needed to sell. It was going to make a lot of difference in their life. The day before the deal went through, they were about to start moving. The buyers backed out. They were absolutely devastated, and had asked me, what does spirit see for me? Am I going to be able to sell this house? And I pulled in everything for them. It was somebody I knew quite well, actually. And, but what I told them was, and this is what I tell people if they ask me about something in the future, if I do get an answer from spirit, if I don't, I will let people know, I'm sorry, spirit's not giving me the answer for that. That's something you may have to learn on your own. But if I do get a yes or no, what I tell them is, as it stands today, I mean, there's that movie, The Butterfly Effect, or whatever it is. That could mean there's so many different timelines that right now, on the path that you're on today, for say the person you're reading, I mean, tomorrow they could turn right instead of left. And I mean, I'm being a little bit facetious here, but that's kind of how it is. The future's not written. It's very fluid, is the way I believe it.
Well, I'm a firm believer in that we exist in several different existences.
Absolutely.
The existence that you woke up in, or the existence that you stepped into. And it's a very messy subject, because a lot of people would be like, oh my gosh, that's just weird. And it's like a very weird, complex world in which there's so many things that actually could be. That's why we do investigations. That's why we comb through information. And, you know, like when I write, I've written all kinds of stuff about divination itself and when it started, why we do it, things like that, and the proper uses of it. It's like, yeah, you can go new agey and try different things. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm not going to say all things are bad. I'm just saying that use an air of caution when you're doing things yourself, or if you're actually reaching out to a person or a business that actually deals with this, so that you don't get taken for a ride, is what I'm saying. Is like, know what you're doing.
I really believe that somebody that is a reputable, you know, psychic intuitive or psychic, whatever the label is, whatever somebody wants to use, or, you know, we've got that new age buzzword right now, light worker. I try and stay away from it. Again, no judgment on anybody that chooses to use that word. If that's something that fits for them, absolutely. But if you're dealing with somebody of repute, or, you know, takes this very seriously, even if they're just starting out, say they haven't had a lot of reviews on their page, they will be able to give you references of people that they have read for. I mean, that should be with any business interaction, really, if you think about it. I mean, that's why there's the Better Business Bureau. And I know, you know, for whatever country you're in, I'm in Canada, different countries have something like that. But when I was on Derek White Sky Cloud's show, we talked a little bit about this. And the only province where I live, as I understand it from the research I've done as of today, not of today, but I mean as of what I know as of today from the past, is that the province next to me, Winnipeg, or Manitoba. I'm thinking Winnipeg, the big city, Manitoba. They require licensing to do this kind of work.
Right.
I have no problem with it. I would prefer to be licensed, because you know what? Then you know that you're coming to somebody that's had to take some sort of type of certification process, or you would hope. There is always a chance that they could just say, pay your fee and you're licensed. You would hope that wouldn't happen, but I would definitely prefer that.
Well, definitely. The thing is, you know, people study, and they study for different reasons. Like, I study different types of sorcery, from medieval concepts to alchemy to all the other things that people are like, oh my gosh, why would you do that? It's so dangerous. It's like, it's science. Everything that we do is a science. Even divination is a science. So it's kind of like a supernatural / paranormal kind of thing, where we're dealing with things that we can't exactly always explain. And even if we do try to explain them the way they are to us, because they're so relative to the person experiencing it, that, you know, it's kind of a crapshoot sometimes.
Oh, I agree. But for example, you and we learn from each other, because that's an area I haven't studied yet. That some of the stuff you're doing, I'm very open to it. And I think that's another thing, that when you're dealing with somebody that's working with this, you know, within this realm, or doing these type of things, working with the public, giving advice from spirit, that again, and this is just a personal opinion, but and I've had readings by other, you know, done by people for me, or whatever reason, you know, working with students, or I used to work in a group where I used to do readings and teachings once a week on one of the social media platforms, is that what better way to work from other people, you know, learn from other people that have different backgrounds, but also when you're planning to work with somebody that, you know, or get a reading, why not ask them what their views are on learning, on being open to learning? Because again, and this is a little bit of a story, not to get off topic, because it does actually go with this whole theme, is that when I first met my husband Dal, because I started Angel Cards probably about 12, 13 years ago. And when I met him, I had said to him, I'm only going to deal with the light. I want nothing to do with the dark. I don't want to know anything about it. That's why I don't want to do tarot cards. That's why I don't want to do, but this is when I was green and naive. And he said something to me that has stuck with me to this day. And he said, Lore, you know what? That's a beautiful thing that's what you want to do. But we live in a world of duality, and you can't know light without dark. You can't know good without bad. You know what? You've got to know both sides of the coin here, because then you got to know what's coming through. You got to be able to discern between the energies and, all kinds of things like that. And it's always stuck with me. So I've always been open to it, to learn both sides of the coin, because I think it makes us more well-rounded as well as practitioners when we are doing these types of things, working with the public and passing along messages from spirit.
Yeah, that's definitely a good point. And a good story, because I said everything is spiritually relevant to the person that is actually doing it, like the things that I practice or do. And things that I do and things that you do take actually a kind of a decent amount of time to kind of hone the craft, and you're never going to be a master.
That's right.
I worry about making a casserole and conjuring a demon. I'm like, well, that went well. But like the charms that I wear around my neck, like you were talking, people put on rings and stuff, and I thought that was kind of hilarious. It's like, what are they in Skyrim, and they need a special ring to kind of make their mojo kind of come up a little bit more, so turn it up so that they can be more attuned.
No, it was like a sign, and I was being a bit facetious, but it was like hanging your open and closed sign to spirit. You don't even need a sign. You don't. But I was saying, if a lot of people need concrete things, but a lot of people are visual, right? Because I've taught people too. I've met many people that have thought that, okay, I'm working with whatever. Say I'll take somebody that's a bunny or quote light worker. Well, I've got to meditate, and I've got to meditate for an hour, and then I've got to do this, and I've got to do affirmations, and then I've got to do all this other stuff, and this and this and this and this and this. And I said to me, and I believe this, again, personal opinion, but I believe with what my practice is that as long as I'm working from a place of love, and I hold the intention that the information that's coming through is for their highest good. I'm not much of a rule stickler. I've worked with mentors and stuff, and I know what the practice is, but I've sort of honed the craft to the way that works best for me. But what I mean by that is, say, for example, I teach something called grounding and gritting for people that, maybe really stressed, or people that are empathic, having, sucking in energy from everywhere and not able to go out in a public place or whatever. So it's not a lengthy process. I always say it takes longer to explain than to actually practice that. But once you know that practice like the back of your hand, one of the really cool tricks I learned from one of my mentors, and it works well, is you can just set a word, set that intention, and the process can run itself, if that makes sense. You don't have to spend, 15 minutes doing, your grounding, your gritting, your whatever. Again, in the beginning, obviously you need to go through the steps. But once I had, especially there was one person in particular, when I had said this to them, they were absolutely shocked, because they were spending half their day doing all this practitioner stuff and not having the time to be doing what they were, what they were preparing for, basically. So I said, like, when you're in the shower, like I said, for example, say you want to put up some protection or work with protection, and you've been doing it for a while, set a word with, and I even use something, again, really silly, like the word pickle. So when I set the intention with pickle, that when I'm in the shower, going to have that cleansing and protection process going on. And it's a little bit more involved than what I'm talking about. I mean, it would take a bit longer to explain. But what I'm saying is, look for somebody that I guess has some morals, values, and ethics as well. Go ahead.
No,
Sorry.
I'm not meaning to step on you, but how do you go about finding or judging personally without being too judgy and
Mhm.
finding that person? Because a lot of these people are like liner notes in the back of a rag mag, because that you're never going to meet the person. They only have a short blurb about it, and they have a picture, and you don't even know if that's really them.
You are so right. So, um, word of mouth is a good thing. See if they've got reviews. And again, that could be written by the person that has the website. I agree. So, for example, on my business page, I have video, and that's why I go live from time to time to let people see how my process works. Again, I'm not saying you have to measure against me, but I hear what you're saying, and I'm aware of that. So I want people to know I am a real person.
Mm-hmm.
This is who I am. This is how I work. Also, again, like I mentioned earlier, I don't have a problem if somebody asks me, do you have any references? I'm not just going to hand out names, of course. That's something I'm very big on, is confidentiality. And I let people know that whatever, happens between you and I that you share, besides, I mean, God forbid I've never had this happen, but if somebody told me they committed a murder or something, obviously I'd have to say, well, I'm sorry, I'm going to be contacting the police. But short of that, I let people know that it's true, but it's the same thing as working as a nurse. But, short of that what you share with me stays between you and I. See it. And again, I think you need to have a little bit of a process, a meeting process, if you will. Ask questions, and somebody's charging a certain rate, ask them why they charge that rate. I really believe that if somebody's willing to be open with you, willing to answer the questions rather than kind of, dancing around the whole answer or giving you a lot of fluff but not being really straightforward, ask them what their education is. Ask them, how did you get into it? Why are you doing this? And you would hope, even for people, because I do believe that most people have a sixth sense. And as if this is something, because I'm meeting lots of people that have gifts, and they're asking me, well, where do I go? What do I do with this? Where do I learn more?
Right.
But like I said, I think the part that keeps sticking in my head, and I haven't seen this yet, is people going on to social media and asking for Air Bunny quotes a donation, and you're going to pull a few cards for that. All I keep getting literally from Spirit is you get what you pay for, because that's another reason why I started this conversation out with why I charge what I charge.
Mm-hmm.
I also have taken even a spiritual business course as well as many business courses. So I've done a lot of work behind the scenes, putting out with Spirit the type of client I'd like to work with. Even sigils and symbols. I'm working on a logo, working with Spirit. I really believe in energy. So I think there's almost a bit of, if some people don't have the time to sit there and, obviously give you an hour of their time to do an interview, but I can't see why you can't be open to a few questions. Or if you don't have the time and you're really booked, put some stuff up on there in the way of video that people can see who you are and how you work.
Yeah.
That would be.
No, go ahead.
Love. No, my headphones cut out. Sorry. Go ahead.
I was just going to say that, I've paid upwards of, just in my training and the mentoring that I've gotten and working with people who are absolutely legitimate and getting readings from them, I've paid like over $200 or more for quality. And those are not an hour. Those are barely like a half an hour sometimes. And because the people get booked, and especially if they're really, really good. And, like I said, guys, Laura Lee has, like the first time I know that since I'm not as new as I used to be, my patina's wearing off.
Oh, stop.
But when we first met, we only met like not even like 3.5 minutes before we were ready to go live. And you knew more about me, or actually some of the things that you touched on that people have never been able to get, because I try to shield myself from people pinging me psychically.
And I didn't know all this stuff. I've told you that. Had I known that, I might have been a little bit intimidated, but I wasn't, because I didn't know you.
So yeah, I'm just a little black rain cloud.
No, you're not.
I'm just kidding.
Thank you, Sarah. That was really kind of you to say. I really appreciate that.
Well, it's true though. I'm not fluffing my friend here. I'm just trying to tell you guys that she's actually a legitimate reader, and because it doesn't annoy. It's not that it annoys me when people call into shows, and I realize that we get numbers and stuff that way, and I don't want people to not call in, but don't just be trying to get the free reading. It's like going to a porn site and taking the free tour and not ever paying. I mean, seriously.
There is a point I have too, though. When I go live, for example, and like I say, that some of the courses I've taken, you know, we've even covered camera angle, light. We've covered, like, there's a lot of stuff that, you know, goes in behind that you've had to learn. But when, say, somebody calls in for a reading, and it's a learning process. For me, the best thing that works is a picture. I don't have a problem with somebody just calling me and I don't know them, but I've realized that, say, if I was on a guest on a show or something, it's not that mediumship is one of my newer gifts. I'm still learning this process, but for me, I need to hear you speak for at least 30 seconds. And I usually ask people to talk about something that they're really passionate about. And it's not because I'm being nosy. When we're passionate about something, or we speak of something that we really love to do, or the people that we love, or pets, or whatever it may be, there's a lot of energy with that. So for me, like I say, I do mediumship readings. I'm very grateful for the mediumship mentor that I did work with, because everything was done over the phone. I never knew who was calling. I never knew who I was working with, and I literally had 15 to 30 seconds to talk to them and then go ahead with the reading. So, but my point, what I was trying to get at is, when somebody asks me for a message, say when I'm going live, I say to them, the more specific you can be with your question, the more specific Spirit can be with the answer. And it's true, because you'll get people say, well, I just want a message from Spirit. Well, guess what? You're just probably going to get a general message from Spirit. But if you're a little bit more, you know, I think that goes with anything in life. If you're a little bit more specific about what you're asking, then Spirit can give you a little bit more honed in answer as to which you're inquiring about.
Yeah, that's very true. And that's why I said earlier, when you're actually, ladies and gentlemen, asking questions legitimately, even if you're calling into my show, calling into Laura's show, or any else on our Late Night in the Midlands Radio Network here, because there's a lot of really super talented people here. And a lot of them are very serious. They all do readings very differently. A lot of very different approaches, but they're very good. They're absolutely good at it. And it just blows me away at some of the stuff that our hosts are able to do, and that they have shows here, and I'm honored to work with you guys and be able to have you on my show. So that's awesome too.
Oh, thank you. Well, we're honored to be with you. But you know what I wanted to touch on, actually, you had mentioned a little bit earlier, and this was something I was seeing in the it was a social media group I used to go up live. I worked hard for that spot because it's quite a large group. I took a lot of courses. I, really had to prove myself. And I'm going to be honest, I'm not much of a butt kisser. So I pretty well did a lot on my own. And my mother taught me one thing in life, and it was, and I still hold this really true, that you know what, you don't have to run around telling people how good you are. Hopefully, or not hopefully, your work will speak for itself. So I really, it took a long time to earn that spot. But what I found was, to say we're looking at free readings here.
Right.
And we've got a lot of really talented people, not with the station, just say on a social media group, whatever it may be. And you got a lot of different readers. What I was seeing, because I would go there to do something which we would call holding space. And I think we do that for each other here all the time. You may not be maybe a part of the show or whatever, but you go there to support the person that is going, say, either up before you or after you. And I would see that, say, for example, somebody would come to my teaching session and free reading session that would be an hour and a half, and they'd ask a question. And if usually there was too many people, so I just sort of would tell people I don't go in any order. If something lights up, that's how Spirit helps me pick who I read for. lo and behold, and I can tell you there were so many times, there might have been, say up for on a weekend night, like a Friday night or Saturday night, 4 people. And somebody would have been in the session before me asking the same question, getting an answer, coming to me, getting an answer. I hadn't seen what their answer was. I was sort of discovering this after the fact, then holding space for the person after me, seeing them get chosen again, asking the same question, and so on and so forth. And Sarah and I, we were talking about this, and I'll be honest with you, when I started angel cards, I could not believe how accurate they were. And it's not just angel cards. It could be oracle, it could be tarot. They're just tools that I couldn't believe it. And having that scientific type mind, I had like 4 or 5 decks, and I would ask the same question of myself when I was learning before I'd taken courses, and literally blown away that it was always the same answer. Not the same cards, not the same deck, just the same gist of the meaning. So for me, it was kind of a proving point, but I was sort of seeing from a lot of people were getting into this, and you touched on this a little bit at the beginning of the show, Sarah, that it's almost like people were looking for a different answer.
Yeah, like they're fishing. It's like they're trying to psychically throw you under the bus or test you, and that's a little messed up. And I've actually been to a lot of psychic fairs and seeing actually people do this. And it's throwing people off is not only is that just bad form, it's tacky, and you're basically taking up this poor person's time who does this for a living or part-time or whatever for pocket money. And it's a very serious business. And so you should also take it seriously. And if you're not going to respect it, then why are you even there? Or why are you calling in? Or are you trying to be competitive? Because that's a little messed up as well. But I mean, this isn't a judgment. This is a wake-up observation. It's like, if you want to be treated with the same respect that somebody else is getting, then be respectful.
Yeah, but that's kind of why, like I said, Sarah, my prices are a little bit more. I feel good about it. I don't feel like I'm ripping anybody off, or I'm not making hand over fist money. That's not what the point is.
Right.
The point is that it's not a $5 reading or free reading all the time. And that's the other thing that seems to happen. But, I think that happens with any profession. You've got a neighbor that's a mechanic or a lawyer or whatever it is, right? It's kind of human nature to ask for help. And if we don't have to pay for it, that's a really good thing. Well, I'm not saying it's a good thing. I'm saying a lot of people tend to look at it that way. But that's people's livelihood. And I think we mentioned this on a different show, Sarah, but like, say, for example, you're a waitress and you work hard for your money and, hopefully you get enough tips. I mean, it's, you've been on your feet for 10, 12 hours a day. The last thing you want to come home is have your neighbor knocking on the door asking if they, could you make me a cup of coffee and maybe, while you're at it, bake some muffins and everything else. You've just spent all day doing that. It's kind of the same thing, if you know what I'm saying. So when you do it for a living and it's for your livelihood, and of course nobody minds helping out a friend, or like I said, sometimes I like to give back to others. But the point I wanted to also make is what you touched on. Say at a psychic fair, and if you want to pay that money and you want to ask 5 or 6 different people, so be it. But my point was that the answer that you get is pretty well the answer you're going to get. And I would see this with these people, and I don't know why they kept asking. It was free readings, right? So they didn't have to put a financial investment into it. And it was like they were looking for a different answer. I have actually seen other people, and this is the part that's messed up. And I'm going to say this. I don't usually say anything judgmental, but it is really messed up and wrong, is when people give you false information.
Yeah.
Just to test you. And, that part, I believe, is I don't know where people's heads are at when they're coming for that. You want to test me? Sure, go ahead. You can test me all along. But, if I've given you something and it's evidential proof and you knew that happened, but you lie about it and then continue to, want me to give you a reading based on lies, well, I don't even know where to start with that one.
And it's like, well, the honest answer for people that are like, well, how could you give a reading if somebody gave you a bunch of lies? Well, it depends on how you're getting your information as well, because you could be reading about whoever this person spiritually is talking about. Maybe they're talking about somebody else. Could be talking about a situation. And that's the funny thing about it. It's like, well, you could come back, because I've actually seen conversations that go this way at professional events where people are arguing about, well, I said this, but my husband's alive, and you said that he was dead, and blah, blah, blah. It's like, he never said he was dead. She said he was with you.
Yeah, I had that situation recently. Yeah, somebody had said they wanted to know if their husband and their son were around them. And because it was a mediumship reading and I didn't get to see them, I had asked them, you know, could you talk about something? And again, not being nosy, just to help me connect with your energy. So they started talking about, you know, the dog that the son had left behind, and they were looking after the dog and so on and so forth. So I proceeded to give them what I was getting coming through. And then they proceeded to tell me that their son had died actually as a stillbirth 26 years before. So that was a little suspect. And then,
unless
you know,
Nightmare Before Christmas Land.
Yep. And then I had given them information about the husband, and they proceeded to say, oh, well, my husband's alive. He must be speaking about my father. So
double talk. Love it.
Yeah. And that was a free reading scenario. So I hear what you're saying. So it's not that the reading's based on lies. I don't agree. I don't think that's what it is. What I've seen people do, and thankfully I've only had one or two people, and it's usually been in a free reading situation, is I've given them something. I've given them the true answer from spirit. That's really what it is. And then they'll lie and say, oh, no, that never happened. But you know, you find out down the line, that's exactly what happened. That's what I'm talking about, the lies. And they just continue to keep telling you, nope, that's not right. No, that's not right. No, that's not right. But you have given them evidential proof. So to me, and Spirit's showing me right now, it's almost like slamming a door. You're slamming a door energetically on that connection. That's what they just showed me. So why are you there? If you don't believe in it, then I respect that. I'm okay with it. Save your money then if you don't believe in it. But
exactly, why don't you just go to the casino then, or stay home and flush $50 bills down the toilet? That's effective too. Or, you know, stick your tongue in a moving fan.
Okay, I don't know why I'm a really visual person when you said that, and it's super cool. It's super cold here, and you know, I think we only ever do it once as a child, where you live cold and you get your tongue on something that's metal. And you can't get it unstuck. That's what the vision came to me when you were talking about the fan and the tongue. I don't know why. Sorry.
I mean, I could have gone a little deeper and harder on that one. You want me to go? Let's go. I don't like it when people do stuff like that. It's like, you know, if you want to drop your money, you go ahead. You might as well be doing certain things. I mean, seriously, going out at the strip joint down the street. I mean, seriously, I just don't get why you would want to waste some person's time and energy, because I know you're probably the same way. It's like, it does take your energy.
Yeah.
It's draining physically and mentally to be reading, especially if you're doing it partially or you're doing it all day, or being at a psychic fair is really hard for a lot of us, because you are inundated with all kinds of emotions. You are inundated with spirits. You're being buzzed by all kinds of stuff, and it's kind of hard to explain other than feeling like you're at the airport and you've got all these planes flying around your head with different things going on. I mean, all these different planes with different things on there, you know, or advertisements, and it's like you see this and you see that, or you hear this and you hear that. Because psychic fairs attract a lot of different things, some good, some bad. And that's another thing I'd like to talk about, is the bad things. When people are asking for readings from spirit, and let's just say that something is around that's not so good. And that's another situation where you don't want to be fluffy. I know that myself personally, don't want to be fluffy because I deal kind of in that realm of darker things intentionally.
Mm-hmm.
And seeing stuff like that and telling people about it, it's like, here's a case in point. Like, you walk into a room, and I was actually with my mother when this happened, and we were going to get her meds at this new place, and it's all set up all, because you know that I'm from a really far north place that's really countrified, and this is a very high-tech place where they have a locked door, and they have people waiting and lots of stuff. I saw this guy who was sitting there, and I'd actually had a dream before I came.
Wow.
Mother, that this person was freaking out at the pharmacy and pulled out a gun and killed everybody in there.
Oh, dear Lord.
And it was that guy. And when I walked in there, I was met by something very dark that was sitting there like, yeah, I told you so. And I'm like, don't you even pull that now? I'm like, I'm walking out of here with my mom.
Mm-hmm.
And that guy you need to leave him alone because he's a little messed up.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, but this is all internally. If I talk out loud to myself, which this probably already does sound a bit crazy, but the longer you go down, I'm going to use your term, the rabbit hole.
Yep.
That the further down you go, the more you see, and some of the stuff just cannot be unseen. I could have chosen to tell the pharmacist that I was talking to for my mom that I saw this and that you need to be very wary, but I don't want to freak somebody out. But however, when I got to the car with my mother, I told her exactly. And she's like, wow, I need to tell somebody about that. I'm like, yeah, you probably do, because I can tell you right now, and this is not a judgment. This is something that I not only saw previously, there was something there. I'm not going to use the Schmeeman word.
Yep.
But I'm going to tell you that it was just there leering, like, you know, we can take this on right now or whatever. Because this guy was rocking legitimately back and forth, freaking out, talking to the guy next to him who also had some kind of issue. I mean, a clinic that deals in medications for people who can't afford them. So you have to go through some kind of program. So, and I'm not saying that it attracts bad people, but I will say that they have their fair share of people that are unfortunately can't cover things because, I don't know, you've got a felony charge or several felony charges and can't be employed. Things like that, or you just got out of jail for something.
Or epidemiology studies show, especially with working in the community as a nurse, that a lot of people with mental health issues end up in really low socioeconomic situations, neighborhoods, homeless a lot, and then or say you are suffering from a mental health issue like depression, anxiety, especially see it a lot with schizophrenia, things like that. People go off their meds. People tend to self-medicate, or addiction issues. All those kind of things leave you very open because your vibrational energy is a lot lower, and your energy is altered because you're altering it with a substance. You're very prone to those type of energies.
Oh yeah, that's another reason why I got off the medications that I was on, because I thought they were making me a lot more susceptible to certain things, and I thought it might have been one of the reasons why some of the places that I go it takes me a longer time to come out of, because of that fog that it causes. And so that's why I go into investigations where most of the time I don't even eat. I've not eaten. I'm not going to drink anything but water, maybe some coffee, but I'm not going to get all jacked up on coffee. You know, I just want to go in clean, because you never know what you're going to meet up with. And like we said before, 95 or more % of the time, there's nothing going on but the rent, basically. It's just freaky pipes, old house, whatever. But, you know, sometimes you do find stuff. At the same time, I mean, now, Laura, when you're talking psychically to somebody and you might find that they might have an attachment, what do you do?
I'm pretty tactful about it. Depending on who the person is, you can kind of feel them out energetically. I'll be honest with you, depending on what type of reading they come to me for, usually an hour is best for the first reading. But that is actually in one of my courses that we've covered, as well as I know the difference with being a nurse. But there's a fine line between somebody that needs mental health issue or has serious mental health issues that require, a physician, because even though I'm something also called a medical intuitive and energy healer, I'm not qualified to diagnose, nor am I as a nurse. I may know what the diagnosis is, but legally I'm not allowed to say that to you. So, well, I'm keeping your question in mind, Sarah, but it's going to be the same analogy. Say I'm doing an energetic scan of you're in one of the most southern states, and I'm way up north in Canada here. And distance, even proven by science, doesn't have to make a difference. And I would never go into somebody's energy field without their permission. So when I do a scan of somebody's body, I'm actually able to see where there may be blockages, pockets of dark energy, whatever it may be. So to be very tactful with the person and sort of feel them out in the beginning, that if something does come up, like say there's an attachment or there's something, or even, energetically with illness, because I can't diagnose, I may ask them at the beginning, have you been to the doctors? Have you had, any investigations done? So on and so forth. So if I do see something, and I just had an example of this recently, and I knew right away what it was because it was a call-in show. I was a guest on somebody's show, and I could see what was going on with them. So very tactfully suggested that they may want to go to the doctors. And, I was asked them, I hope that you have the insurance to be able to go. And they said yes. And I said, well, I can certainly suggest that, maybe your doctor, you might want to ask your doctor if no blood work's done. Maybe they might want to do, a whole blood chemistry panel for you. And sure enough, as I talked to this person, what they had been seeing a naturopathic doctor. Nothing wrong with that. Homeopathic, I don't have a problem with that whatsoever. But this practitioner had been playing around with thyroid and adrenal gland natural supplements, which folks, even though they're not from big pharma, can be just as powerful, sometimes even more dangerous, depending on where they come from and who's actually advising you to take them. So I did pick up properly. So for me, and it's not that I'm beating around the bush, I'm just very careful what I say to people. Like I say, it just depends, Sarah. Like I'm trying to think, like if somebody had a really dark attachment, I'm not going to beat around the bush. I mean, I've lived through paranormal activity for 10 years. But the other thing I will say is anybody that I've seen that's had that has really come to me because they know something's not right. They're getting symptoms in their home. They're like, you just know, like they're in a low vibrational energy state already when they come to you. Mm-hmm. So I guess I'm puzzling through my mind, going through different case scenarios that I've come across. So I guess for me, I'd probably ask the person, if something more negative comes up, do you want to know? That would be the best way to handle it.
But this is the thing that I don't have a struggle with because of the things that I believe. Because if it's that bad, you might want to find a cute fluffy bunny little way to tell them that you might.
I wouldn't be cute fluffy bunny is what I'm saying to you, because and I know what you're saying, because when they come to you, you feel it, you see it. And usually I was trying to go through people I've dealt with this, and anybody that I've had that's had that with that, they were already either suspecting it or they needed answers. So they didn't need cute fluffy bunny ways to tell them. They needed to know. So I guess that's what I got to say then. Yeah, I would tell them.
Yeah, because it's fairly serious when you've got something dark, and it's not always a shmeeman. It is something that just does not have your best intentions. Because I am of the realm of belief that sometimes we're creating the things that are around us, or we're
absolutely.
And in the world that within worlds that we live in and have helped create, that you can create your own hell, basically. So it's a choice. So you're either going to be positive or try to attract the positive with the law of attraction, or you can sit and simmer in your own tepid, lukewarm bathwater and just be cranky, and then all the things that are bad are just going to simmer there with you, and nothing good is going to come of it. I can tell you that. I'm not going to say it's always going to end up bad. I'm just going to say you're not going to see improvement for quite a while if you don't giddy up.
I guess what I am still focusing on that question of yours, because I was going through all the people that I've dealt with or contacted. I guess my final answer on that question you asked me, what would I do about that, Sarah? Because I want to be crystal clear about this. I think it would be professionally irresponsible of me not to point that out to somebody, like, because there's such serious implications, like you've just covered, that. But most people that have come to me with something dark, and we have two different areas of practice, doesn't mean that we don't meet in the middle or we don't encounter each other's types of practice with what we do. You never know what you're going to be walking into. But the thing is, yeah, I've told them what I've seen. And it would be irresponsible of me, like you said, to use, because I don't think I've ever used, like you said, the fluffy bunny approach, because that's nothing to mess around with.
No, and that's the thing, is that I encourage you to not only learn more about what you're actually doing, and I'm not talking about you, Laura, because you and I talk about it. I'm talking about other people that are in practice, and I'm not talking about you people that I know. I'm talking about you guys that I'm just getting to know, that maybe you called into my show, or you've got questions about spirit, or you've got questions about darkness. You've got, just ask us. I am an open book. Laura pretty much is an open book. A lot of us here are kind of that way. And it's like, just don't be shocked what I say. I'm not responsible for your reaction to my answers. But you can ask me pretty much anything. And on that note, I figured since we're at the top of the hour here, that we could talk a little bit about, style and what we actually, how we actually go about, getting into spirit, and maybe trying to see if there's anybody around us right now that wants to talk.
Sure. The one thing I did want to add just before we jump to that is, Sarah, that if you're dealing with somebody that's responsible as a practitioner, and I'm going to be, because I was really going through all the people I've connected with. I never planned on working with darker things, with the paranormal, but I'm finding that and it's almost that mirror effect that you're going to get any time in life, whether you're going through it yourself or you've been through it yourself. Those are the kind of people that just by the law of attraction are going to come to you. And that's been happening with me. But over the years, and I don't think this is irresponsible of any practitioner, say in the past, when I picked up something dark about somebody, I will tell them, I don't deal with this kind of thing, but let me see if I can find somebody to connect you with that can help you with that problem. And I think that's a responsible thing to do, rather than pretending like I know everything and I can deal with this, because that can cause a whole heap of other problems that I think our listeners need to be aware of, that's so important.
Yes, please hold for our next available psychic.
No, we get to know each other in this field, and we know people that we trust. We know people that are able to help deal with certain things. Like Jennifer Malik is a demonologist. I mean, I know Clarissa Vasquez is a demonologist. She's also seminary trained. You practice, like you said, sorcery and alchemy. And I'm learning these things. I'm open to it, but I'm not going to lie to somebody that comes to me. Maybe I pick up, something dark around you, and I know that I don't have the experience to deal with that. I have no shame in telling somebody that, but I'm not going to leave them hanging either. Let me see if I can find somebody within, my trusted repertoire of people I work with, and see if maybe they may be able to help you if they're willing to, or if there's somebody else I can connect you with. Sorry, I didn't mean to hang on that, but I wanted to really leave that out there for our listeners, since we're trying to help them find, if that's something they're looking for, somebody reputable.
Yeah, definitely. And if one of us happens to say that, maybe we're not the one that you need, it's not a good fit, or it's just not something that we deal with, that's you should take that at face value and appreciate the honesty from that. And professional honesty is definitely sterling. So you want somebody who's going to give you that information, and don't keep pushing for more information from that person. Just let them have a little minute to, confer with some of our other people that we know of or know personally. And a lot of times we will say, well, we have somebody, and then we don't actually say your name. We say what the situation is, and first we just feel it out and see if somebody is willing to take it on, and then we'll talk to you again. And if you want us to give the information to that person, like your name, and that you can be contacted. It's not like we're going to go blah and give all your information out. We don't do that.
Can I bring up another point here too that we've discussed that I have been encountering a lot lately, and I'm seeing more of this with other practitioners, is people that are, I've had this actually with 2 or 3 people. And I didn't know Sarah really well in the beginning, and she was trying to kind of give me a hint about this because she was picking it up. And it's so much easier to see from the outside looking in. And it doesn't matter whether you got psychic abilities or not. It just really is. It's more easy to be objective. And what I'm finding is there seems to be a lot of people, they're looking for, air bunny quotes, a psychic friend.
Oh my gosh.
And teach me your ways, and really wanting to get a lot of personal information. And then it doesn't matter what you do in life, there's a fine line between your profession and opening your inner circle, and that's something you have to do individually, I believe, in the global you, not me or you or anybody. Make that discernment on where you're going to go with that. But I know even as a nurse, and I broke that rule once. I met somebody, became good friends with them. In the end, it didn't end up working out well because it's meant to be a professional relationship. And so if you connect with somebody and they tell you, no, I'm not able to help you with that issue, I can connect you with somebody else, or this is something that I charge for. And I've had this like 3 or 4 times in the last month or 2. And it starts out with basically trying to get very chummy, sending through my business email. Nothing wrong with that. But when somebody lays down the guidelines and says to you, no does mean no.
Yeah.
Please don't keep pushing and pushing and pushing and then changing the story to another thing, hoping you're going to hook into that.
Right.
Because, we're doing this as a profession, people. So, and I don't want to make that sound elitist, because I love people, love connecting with people, very loving, as most, I believe you are too, Sarah, as much as you joke about, little comments here and there. But the thing is, please respect that.
Yeah.
I don't know how better way to say it. You'll say it much more succinctly than me, Sarah, but I know we've had that conversation as well.
Oh yeah, it's just giving professional distance to the professionals, and it's like we'll definitely try to hook you up, but if you're going to yammer at somebody and you're going to, like way back in the day of AOL or whatever, and back when I was just learning what I do, stuff like that, and I don't know if you remember the chat rooms and stuff.
Oh yeah, ICQ and
and like there'd be people that come in there, and I equate this to, here's the bunny air quotes again, get ready, spell begging. We used to have people that come in there, oh, I need a spell for this, and I think I'm possessed, or I think this, and I think that. And it's like, no, this isn't a room for, people looking to, change a frog into a prince, or have me change into a vampire, because that's not realistic. But you need to realize that their needs, or their bread and butter. I mean, investigation is a thing, but psychic matters where people are. Some people donate their time for cold cases, or people who are lost, or things like that, and that's great that time is donated. But people that actually go out and meet you up and will sit there and give you a psychic reading, that's time and energy and everything else, and you should give them the credit that is due. And if they say no, leave them alone, because that obviously no is a negative, and I don't want that.
I have to agree with you. I'm going to tell you a funny story. I hope you can hear me. Sorry, my microphone's messing up here. Can you hear me okay, Sarah?
Oh, perfectly.
Oh, good. Okay. Okay. I have even had recently somebody that refused to take no for an answer emailed me back again and had said that I'm going out of town for 2 days. I am positive that we are meant to connect. We are meant to be friends. We are meant to be this. And thank goodness, it was a social media profile that, or that you can now block people with a business page, because I had to do that. And I don't like to do that to people, but thank goodness it exists. But for a funny story, not a word of a lie, this is long before I met you, it's a couple of years back. I literally had a gentleman contact me and ask me if I had a spell that could turn him into a cigarette. And at first I said, no, that's not something I practice at the time. And I said, that's an awfully strange request, but if I really do have to ask you why, and I should have known better. And then this is the worst pickup line I've ever heard, but I got to share it because I actually got this. And I said, well, why would you want that anyways? Well, because then I'd be small enough and you could tuck me in your purse and you could take me everywhere with you. And that is a legitimate email message that I got. Can you believe that?
Oh, I absolutely believe it, because I've had people call me. I have people call me on Facebook Messenger all the time, and it's like, I wish I could shut this GD thing off, because
you can.
It just, no, they find ways. I don't know how they are getting around it, because I'm definitely savvy with computer stuff.
I know.
And I just, for some reason, some people are able to get around the parameters, and I get these crazy phone calls. And I'm like, I'm not going to answer, but I get these messages. It's like, okay, I'll bite. I'll listen to the message. And they think that they want to conjure this, they want to do this, blah, blah, blah. I never said, is there anything on my profile that says I do anything?
Same as me.
So
well, you know what happened to me too. And again, don't just use social media. Wherever you live, there's usually an esoteric shop. Even me living in a smaller community, there's 2 here, can ask for recommendations. Even there, they deal with people within the field. That's where a lot of us go and buy our supplies or tools or whatever we use in our practice. But I'm going to mention it here. I had somebody, and I have my privacy settings set quite high. So I hear you about Messenger. They ended up taking my Messenger ID. They weren't even on my friends list. And I even called the police about this. And of all places, thank God they weren't able to get any pictures because they weren't on my profile, but took my Facebook Messenger ID and connected it with an escort stripper site in Kalamazoo, Michigan.
Yeah, I still, that's just like crazy.
So folks, these aren't strange stories we're telling you. So and when we tell you we're still willing to do this, and professionally we really are, because we believe in what we're doing. So there are legitimate people out there.
Exactly. And so I'm actually just fired up an experimental. I don't use a lot of apps, but I was sent an app by a friend to check out, and I decided where we're at with time that
cool.
On and actually see what comes through, because I took a bunch of pictures and everything, because people think I'm so secretive and whatever. Like, I'm letting people see behind the curtain a little bit, what my world looks like a little. And I burn incense. I have little rituals that I do before I start doing what I do, besides, listening to awesome music.
Yeah.
But yeah, and so the spirits that are around actually know the deal. So we'll see if anybody wants to come through. And I thought that that would be a good time to poke you and see if you pick up anything.
Sure.
And that's funny. As soon as I said that, my kitten decides to holler.
Oh, Doc.
Yep.
Aw, hi, baby.
Stinky little kitty.
Aw.
Oh, Spirit says right.
Right?
Says right. And I'm screen capturing all these, so you could I'll post these so that you can see what came through. Their time, well, I don't know if I'll time mark them, but these are the ones that are coming through now. So they bank them for a certain amount of time. But yeah, but we'll see. It's definitely listening to us.
Is it auditory, or because I'm having a hard time hearing, or is it just like written word, like an Ovilus kind of thing, or?
It's a speaking Ovilus kind of situation where I'm not only getting marks of how close this whatever it is to me, but I also get a recording of the voice. So
cool.
An EVP that goes with, and I also get the word that comes up. So it can choose a word, but I can also hear it. But I've got the volume setting down, but I've got proximity and everything up because otherwise it'll mess with the microphone. So
I have a couple of apps like that actually from Anthony Sanchez, folks. If you're looking for apps like that out there too, he makes really great ones. I think it's ghosthunterapps.com. I have a couple. One's got a tarot deck in it and a spell book and all kinds of stuff. I don't use devices like that in my home just because of the activity. And for anybody that doesn't believe me, you can certainly go Jason Blend, who is a host on Studio A here Sunday nights on Paranormal Soup. Yeah, from the Spookathon, he just posted my call in. It was ITC night, which this is called. Basically, sort of a version of it. People call in with questions, and yeah, you can hear some of the things that come through. So I don't use devices like that in my home. I'm being quiet now?
No, it said wait, not like wait, like waiting. It's like wait, like heavy. So I don't know if that means anything.
I got somebody angry there.
So
I'm getting a man. Man, I could tell you what he looks like.
Okay.
I don't know. We've never really experimented. We talked about this a little bit, but you're going to laugh when I tell you this. But he looks like the human version of what Mr. Burns looks like on The Simpsons.
Nice.
But not with the nose and not short like that, like taller. Just grumpy, like not really angry at anything, just kind of aggravated and annoyed energy and feeling.
Nice.
Well, I just heard he comes from. You have neighbors, right? You're in a. I don't want to give too much information away, but you have neighbors very close by.
Yes, I've got neighbors close by, but this place was made in the 60s, and so I can't hear anything unless it's outside or they're actually legitimately pounding on the walls.
No, I just heard I come from next door. That's literally what I just heard. I come from next door.
Yeah, I know one of them actually does come from next door because several of the neighbors actually are scared of me.
Aww.
No, I'm not kidding. They're very superstitious people. And so, yeah, and the other ones just won't even try to make eye contact with me because they think I'm evil. And that's fine.
Not.
I'm cool with that. Totally cool with that. It's like, just stay away from me.
Give me my space.
Exactly. Well, the thing about my apartment, which I've touched on a couple of times in video and actually on here, is that several people have actually, one was actually murdered at my front door and killed himself in my bedroom.
Oh, that's going to have some negative energy possibly around there.
And Michael is still around.
I've heard you mention him, yeah.
He was a 5-star Michelin chef, so he likes to mess with me in the kitchen a lot. He likes to show himself at inopportune times, or when I'm sitting there, let's say 3 or 4 in the morning, gaming because I can't sleep, listening to Late Night in the Midlands and playing my games or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, he'll show up and it's like, okay, fine, whatever, I see you.
Why always at 3 a.m.? I don't know why. I do know why, but it's always 3 a.m. somewhere. Almost.
I know, right? This is really weird.
I'll stop talking because I'm dying to hear what's coming through or what you're seeing, Sarah.
No, keep talking because it's reacting to what you're saying.
Okay, so what I'm seeing with this gentleman, he's wearing a brown suit He looks like he's about 6 feet tall. He's not stooped over like Mr. Burns, but he's around that age. I don't know why I literally heard that or seen that he's not the cartoon, but that's what I heard. Kind of that crotchety, and he's not like he's angry. It seems like he's angry, but he's not angry with you. That's just kind of what his personality is. And I literally keep hearing it come from next door. Come from next door. And I'm not normally sarcastic on air, but I was literally thinking energetically to him, then why don't you just hightail it back next door?
I just found him. I've got this huge cold spot that's actually to the left of me, right by the wall to my neighbor that's actually to the left. And in the room that's next to me, since the rooms are opposite, so it would be their bedroom would be facing my office.
Mm-hmm.
Like the master bedroom.
You got a little girl around there?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's literally what I just heard now.
Oh, here we go.
Ooh. What are you getting?
Don't lie, is what it says.
Don't lie?
Uh-huh. Well, I was about to say,
Cowboy?
I don't believe it's a little girl.
I was just going to say that. I said cowboy. I heard no. Yeah, but before you said that, I was going to say, but that's not really a little girl, is it?
No, I don't think so. And this cold spot, I mean, I wish I had all my tools with me right now. Well, I do in the other room, but I'm not going to get up.
Mm-hmm.
But
why are you there? Is what I'm asking. Why are you there?
Oh, because they always know where I'm at.
Mm-hmm. I'm seeing if they're going to answer you through there. Why are you there?
Exactly. What do you want us to know? I mean, seriously. If you're going to hang out here and say things, you can say anything that you want with the boss. We just are curious. No disrespect. So you can say whatever you want. Sing a song. I'm not even kidding. Could be karaoke night in the spirit world. We never know.
That's true.
What are you going to know? Because I'd like to believe that the afterlife could be fun, you know.
I believe it is.
You know, aside from, you know, that whole 7 levels of hell and and damnation and purgatory kind of thing. You know, I would like to think that there's tacos.
There's tacos on every level. You get the really crappy ones on the bottom level, and all the way up to the top, they're heavenly.
Yeah, at the bottom, it's Taco Bell. Montezuma's Revenge.
Yeah, exactly. That's on the bottom level. You got to go all the way up to the top to get to the bathroom.
Exactly. So I'm going to let him just feel it out. He moved.
He moved?
Yep. He's right in front of me now.
Okay, I'm going to ask this question. Is there something from my house over there?
I think there is.
Okay. I thought so. Didn't even want to say it, but okay.
Yeah, when you came on earlier, I got punched in the stomach.
Oh, Sarah, I'm so sorry.
It's all right. I get touched and hit and punched and stuff a lot by spirits. And it's been happening since I was a child, so that's why I do all of this stuff. Because if it's going to happen, I would rather that it happen to me than somebody else, because it sounds really sick and sadistic or whatever, but I don't know. I'm just used to it.
I almost asked you the really dumb question, and I'm not even, well, I'll say it because it doesn't, I understand why you're going to answer what you're going to answer. You know, as I was going to say, is there any protective measure that you can use to stop that? And obviously, if there was, you would have used it. But second of all, even, and again, not about me, but being in our own home, we've used every protective measure there is, and doesn't mean it's going to stop the activity or getting hurt.
Exactly. And it's like last night when right before I was during the show, I had a shadow actually come out of the corner of the room over here and dart, like kind of like a cone shape, like from the corner of the wall all the way over here. And after we ended, I had this bright light that was like right over the top of my computer Armoire.
Yeah.
And it just kind of was there, and it's like, okay.
How did you feel about the bright light? Did you feel like maybe it was something positive coming in to sort of assist with what was going on, or?
Oh, here we go.
Well, if you're going to speak up, now's your time.
It said complete.
Complete.
It said that complete.
Complete download.
Complete what? So if you're going to complete your sentence, please.
That's literally what I heard in my head. Complete download.
Complete download. But yeah, and now I feel like I've got something down between my ankle and my top of my hand.
Have you ever tried? I've never tried this myself, but what about something like with iron in it? Like, you know, like I probably don't even have that there. You wouldn't have a need for a fireplace, but something like an iron poker or, you know, tire.
I have an iron cross that I actually got in a bookstore in France that I have hung up because I have a fascination for Gothic things. Gee, surprise. But yeah, I have a few iron things around, but I have crystals all over the house that I charge and put all over. They're all over every opening, archway, and window in this house. And the only reason I do that, oh, here we go again.
Okay, so what's it saying? What are you saying? What do you got to say?
Anybody named Summer?
I do know somebody named Summer, not well at all. Just somebody that used to contact me quite a bit for free readings when I was going up live in a certain group.
Keep talking.
Okay, I'll keep talking. Well, this is your opportunity. You're on LNM Radio right now live. So if you are from my house, I know that you have no shame in your game. You have the ultimate pride and have no problem with making yourself known.
This thing is peaked out. I wish I had my camera working.
Yeah.
Come forward. What do you have to say? Don't be a chicken. Come on.
If you got something to say, and I just heard a voice. Sarah and I, though, for our listeners, we've had that little girl that I picked up right away come through in our conversation because we laugh a lot. It's laughing's a good thing to raise your vibration, and I forget what we were talking about, and we heard the little voice come through and say, yeah. And I said to Sarah, did you just say that? And she said, no, and I didn't say it either. So certain people get EVPs and stuff like that through. A lot of people don't realize, though, that they pick up EVPs and they don't even know it because their human ears can't pick it up. But if you were recording and you go back through it, that's when you may pick it up.
Oh, yeah. And I've got a guy that whistles.
I hope he's good.
Just all of a sudden I hear this. Or.
Oh, this poor attempt at a cat call.
No, I don't even think it's that. I think that it's just like, oh, I'm here, you know. The next word EVP that I have was Hill, and we're getting another one now. Freak.
Okay.
Well,
and
I know what I am, but what are you?
So you got Hill was before that?
I got Summer, Hill, and Freak.
Isn't there a place that's fairly haunted in the United States that's known well, something to do with Summer Hill? Or is it from a movie, maybe? I've heard that before, Summer Hill.
Well, with this experimental thing that I've got right now, the only thing that I've noticed with it is that it puts words together, and sometimes it has something to do with the conversation that we are having, and sometimes it has to do with the spirit that's actually speaking. Sometimes it's more than one spirit, so you have to sit and kind of think about it a little bit. And I know apps and other inventions cannot be counted on all of them, but I really do. Oh, here we go. Screeching.
I don't know why I got a vision of an owl. Sounds intriguing. Owl.
Well, I have an SB4, but the SB4 I don't like as much as I do the older versions because of the noise captures.
Yeah.
It gets so funky, and it's like, I appreciate the technology and everything. I'd like to get one of the really legitimate ghost boxes, but it's like, do I want to fix my car, or do I want to buy?
Yeah. Well, like I said, I have, and the one time I turned it on, I mean, I feel comfortable doing it with you. I can do it, but it does have stuff coming through it. And I think I told you this, Sarah. I'm not going to say, I'll keep it anonymous, but the name of a neighbor that had passed away recently came through.
George?
Nope.
Well, I just got George.
George?
And, yeah, we're getting something else coming through, hopefully. Yeah, George.
I don't know anybody by the name of a George.
Reaching George. And it's George, George.
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 Well, nice to meet you, George. Behave yourself while you're there. Mm-hmm. Because I was gonna say though, and I didn't know. I was checking out because they're really beautiful apps. So it's called the Gaia Divination app, and the other one, like I said, it was with a bunch of spells, and it's really cool. But my computer's quite old, so I've had some problems getting it to work. But it also has the ability to do ITC, or for anybody that might not understand, it's inter-trans communication, or some people use it. You probably have a little bit different word for it, but basically communication between the spirit world and our world. And somebody had asked me recently, Sarah, as I understand how these work, is spirit needs the energy, right, to be able to communicate, that they're able to use this energy. Yeah, so that's how this works. But I was going to say, so I turned on the app. I wanted to see how it worked. I think it was the Gaia app, because it had a sort of a lighter divination deck in it, and then I didn't realize that there was ITC or ghost box option to it. My neighbor's name came through, and it passed quite suddenly, even though he'd been ill for a while. And I'm not going to give too much other information because I don't want to create any rumors or anything, but he literally came through and it said conspiracy, and then it said electrocution. And believe me, I knew exactly what that was all about. I was absolutely shocked.
I think I do too.
Yeah, I know you do. I think I may have told you, but I think you do know. You'd be able to pick that up. Yeah.
Well, I just got slower.
Slower?
Slower. SLOWER. We're getting something again now. Frank. Oh. Slower Frank.
Slower Frank. We got George and we got Frank. You haven't got any gangsters around there, do you? I don't know why you just got that.
Yes, we do. I live right on the border. I actually live on Broadway. And there's a lot of streets called Broadway, so I'm comfortable saying that. But, so I can say literally my posse's on Broadway.
Yeah, I just got that like from the 30s. Like, don't get me wrong, it wasn't like Al Capone or something, and this is more to do with something with Cuban nationality.
Okay, is that why everybody thinks I'm Spanish?
I guess, probably. No, I literally, that's what I got. And it wasn't just because it was Frank. I wasn't being, because for anybody that's listening, what I do is I'm really, really visual. And very clairaudient. Those are two of my stronger ones. But when I say visual, it's all within the mind's eye or using the third eye. So I just go with it because what comes through, and it's usually pretty accurate. Most people are accurate, but you doubt yourself or you think it's your imagination. So when you go with it and you allow it to flow. Quiet now, Frank and George?
No, I just boosted my signal. I just killed all my other applications and boosted everything. I've got a booster on the experimental thingy, so I can turn off everything else.
Yeah.
And peak peek and tweak it. So that's what I'm doing, and seeing if I can't get anybody to talk a little quicker. But some of them are kind of shy. Even the ones that are not so nice will actually hang back. And it's like, did it take you a while to come up with that 3-syllable word?
Mm-hmm.
It's like, I don't give you like an obelisk or ITC or anything so that you can just jerk me around.
Yeah, because like I said, I understand a little bit about them, but like because I don't use them. Like I know I've like Rob Autry from Jason Bland's show, because Jason does do ITC night. He used to do it on Paranormal Soup once a month, but he's got really fantastic guests. So I know somebody had asked that on, because what they do is when they have ITC night and they connect with different groups all across the US that they know, paranormal groups, and each of them will take a turn depending on the caller. But what they do is they take all that evidence and all the recordings and they go through it and they edit it, and then they will subtitle it for people and then release it. So again, Jason used to do that once a month, but I just noticed that he may not be doing it because he's got so many guest books until like around New Year's again. So it's quite interesting.
Yeah, and I just got bar.
Bar?
Yeah. Something about a bar.
You guys at a bar? And
my bar. My tequila bar.
Your tequila. I call that tequila. Yeah, it's just about killed me. No, I'm just kidding.
Me too. That's my first bout of stupidity overseas. And I gave myself alcohol poisoning so bad that I almost died. That was just not smart at all.
Oh.
I couldn't drink tequila for years, and now I collect it. And I'm actually having some right now.
It's just pretty to look at. No, you know what we should mention while we're talking, because we're planning on going through with it, that one special night on Thanksgiving night.
Exactly.
On Thursday night, it's going to be 3 drunk broads with you and me and Clarissa Vasquez, and it's going to be lots of fun. Just a one-time deal, guys. So you might want to tune in. I don't know if we've decided what time it is, have we?
We'll have a banner for it sooner or later, and probably sooner because, we're coming next week.
I know. I'd forgotten about that because when Clarissa was on had called in on Tuesday night, I had open lines, so I was really grateful. She said she had done her show. I think Katie and Daryl, she was chatting. They go, call in, and then Chris was listening. Chris Carr, he's one of her co-hosts with, I believe, her Sunday night show, and she said they'd already started promoting it. And I said, oh, I got to remember to do that, and I just haven't had the opportunity. That maybe our little buddies there might have something to say about it, like alcohol, or maybe you guys have a suggestion, because we're going to play some games to spice it up a little bit. Have you guys got any game ideas? Frank and George?
I know, or whoever this is. I just got Myra, M-I-R-A, Myra.
M-I-R-A. You know what? I'm going to get really teary right now. That's her. You know what? There's one thing, and being a nurse and hurting my back, I still have my nursing license, and there are just certain people that really, really touch my heart. And there was one that I had that was a mom, had young children, just love of her life. She'd met him since she was in high school. The worst kind of cancer you could ever imagine. Had, ended up having to have a ostomy bag, just horrible things, and was supposed to have passed away at the time when I was involved with her. And she actually lived a lot longer, but she did pass away. And then I'd hurt my back, and a lot of my patients still stayed in touch with me for quite a few years afterwards. And before I went off, and just before she died, she gave me a Christmas ornament. And that was her name. And every Christmas, I have a couple ornaments from a couple of my patients. Every time I put my Christmas tree up, I always think of them. We're getting close to the holiday season. And that's what her name was.
I got Robert when you said that. R-O-B-T, Robert?
Is it Robert or Bob?
Said Robert.
No, it's the reason why I'm asking you this. I was with my babbling here, is I had one patient in particular, and I didn't give my phone number out. I had an unlisted number, but I've talked about this many times before about how absolutely blessed I feel working in the NICU, maternal newborn, labor and delivery, being there at the hundreds of times at the beginning of life. And then before I hurt my back, how deeply beyond honored I always felt that families would want me to be there with their loved one when they'd pass within their, from this plane, obviously, over to source, whatever, back home, whatever you want to call it. So what I would do, because I was working full time, is they'd have my number. I never got paid for this, but they might call at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, and I'd go out and be there for the end. And I had one person in particular, he was a twin, and he didn't have anything, like not even 2 nickels to rub together. And I was there at the end with him, and his most prized possession, believe it or not, was a Schlitz. I've got it right here. Black Label, Carling Black Label beer mug. It's a collect. Like, I don't even know how old this is, and he gave it to me. It's got gold all around the rim. He actually left that for me because he used to go to my patients' funerals, and his twin said I had to have it. So it sits on my desk. And this isn't of arrogance or anything, but I've got so many beautiful letters over the years from patients, and it sits there. And every time I look at it, and my uncle passed away, his picture's here too, and his name's Robert. He just passed away about 2 years ago, so that's why I wondered. Pardon?
I got Annihilation and Brad, and this is really hot, like peeking out to where it fades out and almost collapses my phone.
Annihilation. That's not a really high vibe word, is it? Not that it has to be high vibe. I don't mean that. But...
Brad.
Sorry, cut out something, Brad?
Brad. And like I said, it's getting so active that it's making my phone weird.
Ooh. You wanted me to talk.
Silent.
Silent now?
It said silent.
Are you done now?
Oh, nope. We're going hot again. So you can keep it coming.
Well, they're giving us a lot. They're giving us a lot of names.
Because I'm surrounded, as you know. Well, you're all got people.
Yeah. Well, actually, that's why I keep this stuff on my desk, because this is my most active corner. And I often tell people, the only thing that's helped is working on vibration and doing what I'm doing now. Because especially after our TV episode was released, it was released in Canada first. I got such awful messages from people. Well, look what you do. And the really weird thing is I wasn't practicing this type of work that I'm doing as a psychic medium. I was actually just a mother and a nurse, obviously, but I'd hurt my back. So I wasn't doing any of this. That's what's made things much better. Is doing what I think I'm meant to be doing here on this planet.
And it just said book.
Book. Yes, I am writing a book. How many books am I writing? I know how many I am. How many am I writing? Let's see if it get hot now, if it'll be quiet.
Because it reads and it doesn't always necessarily peek out, but when it's really close, and it's like I get this really strange feeling when it does this. And it's not just because of a mental thing that, it's going all red. It's that it actually heats up my phone, peaks out, and then goes into its little fit of writing whatever the word that came out. And when it peaks out, the EVP is usually pretty clear. So I'll see if I can't get it. See if we can't recognize the voice. But yeah.
What's your thoughts on what's around you? What are you picking up, Sarah? Because I know how intuitive you are as well.
Well, I try to not actually think about some of those things most of the time.
I understand that, yeah.
Honestly, because of the stuff that I deal with, I actually wear things around my neck to try to block some of the stuff out that, like.
Well, I hope it's okay. just sent you the hugest, most powerful bubble of white, brilliant light. Normally, I don't pick white, but that's what I heard. Let's see what your box says now, because I'm picturing you in that light right now, like sending that energy.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You know, I love you. I keep it for our listeners out there. I told her that the first night I met her. And again, literally, we weren't joking. I met her like for 2 minutes before the show. And Sarah was so kind to invite me to be part of her show that night, Infinite Inquisition. And it's become a tradition. And I knew, you know, you just meet somebody and you know them. And I believe either we were sisters from another mister, like in this lifetime, but I believe we probably were sisters or some kind of relative in previous lifetimes.
Or work together really closely or something.
Yeah, or something. Yeah, definitely.
But
I can't wait to hear the recordings if it records, because a lot of times you don't hear with just the ear too. That's cool that they've got the Ovilus with it as well. That's kind of a double backup as well.
Mm-hmm. Well, I have a regular Ovilus, and I've got all the other stuff. And the reason why we say, well, at least myself, I don't use apps a lot. I'm happy to take apps that people want to try out and use them. And I've used them. I calibrate with them sometimes just to see how good they are. And some of them are actually fairly legitimate. But the only thing with applications, because of its they're usually on a tablet or a phone or a computer of some kind, that they can be compromised by certain things. But also a lot of our tools that we use can be compromised in certain ways, in a lot of different ways, actually. So, but apps especially, because we don't know if they're put in or they've actually
pre-programmed,
to say certain things. You're reading my mind. This or that or whatever. And so
there was one. Oh, go ahead, love. Sorry, my headphones cut out. Go ahead. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to talk over you.
I'm just letting them know that if they want to say anything else, they've got one last chance, because we're coming to the top of our hour here pretty soon. And we're not going to wait for it to stutter along, because I know they're here. Because and this is the thing, that it almost feels like you're crowded, but it's cold. But it's like if you're in a highly air-conditioned room that's been on super high, that the walls start sweating. Like that. It's weird. It's kind of like cold and...
It's not, because you know what I'm feeling right now? I am literally feeling cold going all the way up my ankles up to just below my hips right now.
Yeah, that's where I've got it. It's like creeping up my legs, and it
Me
was
too.
And
no, it's not hands. It's almost like, you know, when you're a little kid and you go in a wading pool and it's super hot out and you go outside and it's ice cold. That's what it feels like. All the way up. It's not going any higher, and it would be probably about 4 inches below where your hips midline would be, groin area. It's about 4 inches below, all the way down to my feet. Feels like I'm standing in kind of cool water. It's the only way to explain it. It doesn't feel like water. It's just the temperature.
And it's, for me, it's not like water. It's more like a foggy mist there you're walking through, where it's like the humidity is way down here down south, where it's kind of a thickness where it's kind of gross.
Yeah, it's not a nice feeling.
Can't get away from it.
Yeah, it's
the way through.
No, I definitely would say that's not a nice feeling.
And when I said hand, I was feeling it on the top of my hand, not like a hand.
Oh, okay.
On the top of my left hand too. Like somebody had their hand on mine. But which happens. Or like I was sitting there the other day and somebody tapped me on the shoulder, and it's a legitimate tap on the shoulder, like, okay, so you're just gonna tap my shoulder and walk away? It's like, okay. It's like, I'm gonna start at some point, like filming, like when I actually do sleep a little bit, and some of my activities so that people can actually see the things that are around me. A lot of the time, it's like I can promise you I'm not nuts. I mean, I'm a little off, but I'm not crazy.
No, but that's, you know what, I have to agree with you though, Sarah. That's why I started to take pictures of a lot of the marks. Like, for example, there's one, and I was actually it was kind of a cute little bra, but, you know, I figured it looks pretty much like a bikini top, but I was standing in front of our mirror. We have a large mirror in the bathroom, and I was combing my hair, and all of a sudden I felt this burning on my left upper chest, and I looked down. I took pictures. It looks like it's almost like I've been like a first degree burn or like a sunburn, and it looks like a handprint. I have burns. And I'm just going to get silly here and say it, but one of the entities we have here, we call it the butt monster, jokingly, but I have a burn on my tailbone that looks like I've been hit with a cigar. And you've seen the pictures. I know I've sent them to you. It looks like something bit him on the butt with little pointy teeth.
It really does look like a bite. It looks like a bite. I got falls when you started talking about being in the bathroom and something like that. It went red and said falls, like falling, and now it says trace after you said.
You're quite the lewd, crude character here. And then when you said that you got tapped on the hand, I mean, we have a female shapeshifter here that Adele's been smacked on the back in the middle of the night, usually in the kitchen, twice turned around and said it was exact replica of me, hair, clothing I was wearing, everything. And then as he spun around, like, who hit me? And I remember he came flying down the stairs because our bedroom's in the basement, asking me, did you just go upstairs and hit me? And I said, first of all, I've never hit anybody. I said, I've never hit my kids, my animals, you. Why would I start now? And second of all, I haven't even moved. And I said, why? And that's what he told me would happen. There's been way more things. That's why I'm writing a book, because this is just unbelievable. I'm so glad, though, that we've documented a lot of this stuff, because it's so crazy. There's no way you'd ever believe it if you didn't have the pictures to prove it.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like I said, we can do all the research that we want to do. We can do all the talking that we want to do. We can do every show and whatever. And it's all subject to the person. And some people are absolutely full of, like I said, BS, bravos. And some people are absolutely on the level. And you'll know that when you come across those people that are absolutely legitimate. And to wind it up here, that that delving into the paranormal is a serious thing. You don't take it lightly. You don't just wake up one day and say, yeah, I'm going to go talk to the spirit world, because a lot of things can happen. You got to be prepared for a lot of things. And it's not a fairy tale. You're not always going to find something. I mean,
it's not like on TV.
Nope. And it takes a seriously long time. And if you go out and you found something on your first try, more power to you. I'm not going to hate on you, but that's rare. That's super, super rare. So, so trust your gut. Make sure that if you go to a psychic or clairvoyant, or people that are trying to do readings for you, or mediumships or things like that, please treat them with respect and do your homework. It's just like any other business. Like if you're going to have somebody come and roof your house or fix your shoes, you're going to do some kind of background check on them, because I'm not going to have them touch my shoes or fix my purse if they don't know what they're doing, or go on the roof of my mom's house if they don't know anything about anything and they just came to Craigslist. I mean, seriously. Spiritual business. So long story short is just be very be respectful and do you. And on that note, Laura, do you want to tell them where to find you and what you do?
Sure. Thank you so much, Sarah, for having me here. I love doing shows with you. I'm Laura Lee Podman. I am the host of the Angel Rock, which airs live Monday through Friday, 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time here in the Studio A. Sorry, I forgot. I'm in Studio B, and I am a psychic medium. I'm also medical intuitive. I'm a Reiki energy healer, spiritual teacher, and mentor, and nurse. And just quickly with our show, we talk about all things paranormal. Basically, I also like to teach people about the power within themselves. Don't need to be a sheeple, but also not coming from an egotistical point of view. Just recognizing we all have gifts and talents, and basically teaching you the power of recognizing what you have within you. And thanks again, Sarah, for having me here. I had so much fun.
Oh, you're more than welcome. I love our shows together and hanging out and stuff. I mean, you guys, we even talk during the week and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
It's not really like talking. It's like we're instant messaging each other and sharing videos and whatever. Sometimes we do actually have time to talk, but with, her schedule and my schedule, it's just, But anyway, just thank you for listening. And to all those out there, that, if you have questions or concerns or things like that, we can definitely point you in the right direction of the person that you do need to talk to, honestly, or because like we do have hosts here that do offer services as well for people who do have serious issues. And while I'm on the subject, let's say thank you to our affiliates here at Late Night in the Midlands Radio Network, High Point Radio, 1620 AM, 100.5 of New Jersey, broadcast in New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and West Virginia. WCET 101.7, Columbia, South Carolina. KOY 1230 in Phoenix, Arizona. KYAH 540 AM, Utah's Talk Authority. Also on YouTube, TuneIn, Twitch, Facebook, iTunes, Open Eyes, Neely Productions Incorporated, Neely Worldwide Publishing. Also on TalkStream Live under Paranormal Radio, Daily Motion, TSL, Amazon Alexa, streamed and restreamed all over the internet. So if you can Google us, you can find us. We also have our free chat room now. So if you can go and meet some of us and talk as well. And also a special thank you to My Patriot Supply, who's been supporting and LNM here, America's best emergency food at mypatriotsupply.com, up to 25-year shelf life. I hear their mac and cheese is excellent, so I'm definitely going to try that. Apparently, they've got some really good prices on emergency food supplies. So thanks again for listening to Late Night in the Midlands here on Tripping the Void. And thank you to Laura Lee Podman. Thank you to Katie Neely for producing this show live, and you all have an awesome afternoon and the rest of your weekend, and we'll see you on Monday.
Yes, thank you. Have a good weekend.
This has been Late Night in the Midlands, Tripping the Void with Saraphine Hurley. I know I enjoyed the trip. Until next time, Saraphine Hurley with Tripping the Void. Later.